All right. Well, here we go. Sorry, they're playing with something. Okay. So I saw this guy. He made a comment under one of these Twitter threads that I was looking at, and I decided to click on it. And apparently, he does have a YouTube channel, this and that. What's going on, Timogen? So I figure we'll get into this right here. His audio on a couple of his other videos are absolute trash. Well, let's go ahead and get into this guy. Another beard. I mean, I'm sorry. People have ruined beards, haven't they? Men have ruined beards. So this is presumably like a Marxist in some. I don't know if he's a Marxist-Leninist or whatever, but I think he claims Marxism, but then he brings up all these French philosophers and everything else. So I'm like, and he talks about, of course, trans rights are human rights. It sounds like he's trying to gain some clout. You know, he's a Canuck. He's a Canadian who wants to talk some ish. But yeah, let's go ahead and I have the deep voice. Oh shit. Okay. Oh well. I'm just gonna let it go. I don't even care at this point. I don't even care. All right, let's just go ahead and get into it. So let's go ahead and show this guy here. This is gonna be some bad mamma jamma stuff. Here we go.
It's going to take a long time. But if you hear me talking about An Aesthetic of Chaos, which is the workout on future videos, that's it's a book of aesthetic theory that I've started playing with.
Aesthetic theory. He's putting out a book of aesthetic theory. Bruh.
It's yet another side project because I do love my hobbies. The reason that I'm talking today is because there's been some discourse this week, and I thought it would be a good idea to actually speak out on a specific issue. A famous maritimer, a famous actor, Elliot Page, has recently come out as a trans man, and as is often the case when a celebrity announces a major life event like coming out or something like that.
He is awful at mixing music. He's awful mixing his audio with his music. It's like, bruh, all you have to do is like listen to it at least once or twice to learn how to mix the volumes a little bit better. I mean, he did this in the other video too. It's pretty much unlistenable. The actual first video that he made, I was like, bro, what are you doing? But yeah. So he wants to talk about Elliot Page and all that feiwa. What does trans rights even mean? Basically, it's the rights to let corporations do what they want. It's like if someone feels a certain way, then it's okay if they want to cut off their hoo-ha, basically. If they want to cut off their family jewels and cut a hole in themselves that's permanently cut in, I mean, that's perfectly fine. Yeah. Uncle Tom's Cabin voice. Oh shit. So I fucked up my audio, huh? You know what? I don't even care. Like I say, we're just gonna let it roll. If it sounds like it's chopped and screwed, I'll just say RIP to if they're a child. I don't think. See, that's the whole line, Timogen, isn't it? Where they talk about transgenderism. It's like, I don't think they're talking about children, but it's like, you know, they say they're like, oh, well, not children, but oh boy, it just sounds ridiculous. Go ahead, let's get into it.
Honestly, um, now, I mean, I'm like the cis to ever cis. Honestly, I'm pretty comfortable in my gender, and I just wanted to say seriously, if you're on the left and you're being a transphobe, cut it out.
If you're on the left and you're being a transphobe, cut it out, mate. Cut it out. Oh boy, I love that type of shit where it's just like, it doesn't make much sense to me. Where it's like, we're going to support trans rights just to dab on conservatives. I really do think that's the case. But that's the case with a lot of things, though. It's just they don't even care necessarily. It's like, yeah, some people do, but it's like in general, if you open yourself, if the left further opens itself up to transgenderism, you are just you're asking for trouble. You're going to cause more division. You're going to cause more, I mean, you are going to get more money in terms of corporations because it's like, who really supports transgenderism? You think that you think Pfizer, the company that makes HRT, is going to dissuade you from that? Of course not. This is why, it's always funny. It's like, well, capitalism creates racism. It's like, yeah, I can believe that to a point, but it's like, if you support people transitioning this and that, or if you support all this sort of stuff, you're just creating subgenres of people. You're creating further separation. So how could you be a leftist in any practical way and class consciousness or trying to build class consciousness, but then also support people separating themselves from each other more? Oh, well, I'm they, them, or I'm non-binary and all this sort of stuff. You're further separating people. And you're saying, I'm not working with those cishet white men. I'm not going to do that. That's all you're doing. Genital mutilation, bad because religion. Yeah. Genital mutilation, good because trans. Exactly, yeah. The right not to get fired is understandable. The right to take hormone blockers, a child's not so much. Yeah. I want people to live healthy lives. Exactly. Like I say, I think that with transgenders, like I say, here's my stance. Just to make sure for the record, I know people are going to say, oh, you're a transphobe, you're a TERF, this and that. Look, you know what I'll say? Transgenderism is going to exist. All right. I'm not going to stop it. You're not going to stop it. It's already out of the bag. The thing is, it's simply a lifestyle choice. That's all I have to say. It's a lifestyle choice. And it's something that, a lot of, as, just kind of a, I want to be like the rest of my friends, this and that. Dare I say it? I know people are going to say, oh, that's wrong. That's bad. But you know what? I don't even care. That's my feeling about it. If you, if you want to, delve into it more, that's fine. But that's why, in general, I think this is like maybe the second or third time we've talked about the LGBT stuff. I try not to because, in general, I don't care. Yeah, large part of it is mental illness too. Yeah, exactly. It really is encouraging mental illness. It's encouraging people to, you wouldn't encourage someone to start slitting their wrists because they like blood or something like that. You wouldn't do that, but
yeah, it's as simple as that. Now, I know I'm the theory guy, and I always bring things back to theory. So I want to, in this case, talk a little bit about one of my favorites, which is existentialist ethics. Specifically, Oliver says hi, and to specifically to talk about the idea of authenticity and the idea of an open future. Now, these are ideas that weigh heavily in the work of my favorite existential ethicists, Simone de Beauvoir.
Okay, so let's stop right there. I have heard this name, but let's go ahead and look this up right quick. So who the hell is this Simone de Beauvoir? Who is this broad? Because I've heard this name before, but once again, French. The French, huh? I mean, it's like read something German. I mean, as cringe as the Germans may be from times, I'd rather read German than read something French. The French are just, oof. I mean, it's like, I mean, I bet this guy thinks about Foucault or something like that, absolute cringe people, Lifelong relationship with Jean-Paul Sartre. Yep, there you go. Sartre, of course, from what I heard, had, three. He had trysts with his students all the time, and everything else. But yeah, great guy, really. But yeah, these are people that claim to be on the left. Bourgeois Parisian family. Okay. Middle years, Beauvoir taught at the lycée level. I think lycée is secondary education. Okay, that's what I thought. En français, Jean-Paul Sartre. Sartre and Beauvoir always read each other's works. Debate continues about the extent to which they influence each other in their existentialist works. Being a nothingness. Yeah, this is just, like I said, this is just big-brained type of, existentialist. Life doesn't mean anything. But I'm not a nihilist either, though. No. Beauvoir was bisexual and her relationship with young women were controversial. Bruh. Wrote in her book, Memoirs, a disgraceful affair that while she was a student at Lycée Molière, she had been sexually exploited by her teacher, Beauvoir, 30s at the time. Lamblin had an affair with both Jean-Paul Sartre and Simone de Beauvoir for a number of years. In 1943, Beauvoir was suspended from her teaching job due to an accusation that she had seduced a 17-year-old. This is the French. The French. Oh, man. Mon Dieu. That's all I have to say. Oh, bruh. This is the French, isn't it? Yeah. Total War III Kingdom. Yeah, exactly. When I was there, it used to be people who had legit dysmorphia instead of today where liberals turned it trend. Exactly. German philosophers are better. Pretty much any other nation's philosophers. Yeah. Like I say, I mean, this is the French, though, isn't it? These are just pervs. I'm sorry. Maybe there's some good Frenchmen out there, but mon Dieu, Oh, boy. Sorokin's parents laid formal charges against Beauvoir for debauching a minor. The age of consent at France at the time was 15. Oh, boy. And as a result, she had her license to teach in France revoked, although she was subsequently reinstated. That's the French for you. Sounds like a great person. So let's get into this.
And Soren Kierkegaard. Now,
okay, so he mentions Kierkegaard as well. He's kind of someone that a lot of folks use. I remember Argent making a video about him as well. I don't know too much about Kierkegaard, but it's like, bruh, whenever you mention these things, it's like you claim to be a leftist, and yet you mention Simone de Beauvoir, who it sounds like was an intellectual, intelligentsia, if you will, if we want to use more Marxian language. Existentialist ethics, sexuality. Oh my goodness, yeah. Turns the existentialist mantra that existence precedes essence into a feminist one. Oh boy. Sex, gender distinction. Oh boy. The man. Oh, mon Dieu, huh? These are the French, though, isn't it? All right. I know. My hatred of the French comes up. But it's like, bro, this is some... From the Paris Commune to this, exactly. The Three Kingdoms story mixes legend with myth of the... I have never read games. I have read... I I did read part of which one is it? Not Journey to the West. That's it. Yeah, Journey to the West. Maybe you put it on 2.5 speed, his voice might sound normal. Maybe. Yeah, let's go ahead and try. This guy, though, I mean, let's see.
In this case, effectively what they say is that the way to live a good life is to live in realization of the freedom you have to act, and to act and transform and potentially start in ways. And the book goes further and says that not only is it good to act in recognition of your own freedom to act, but also to create space for others to act. And that's really at the heart of why it's notwithstanding the obvious harm. I mean, if you're a person who cares about not.
Hold on. All right, sorry about that.
Hurting other people, then it should be pretty obvious that showing support for trans people is something, because it is like bigotry leads to harm, but notwithstanding the obvious harm that comes from bigotry, this really kind of speaks to the other reason why it's an ethical good that comes about from supporting people when they go through life events like announcing that they're no longer going to live in a position of gender dysphoria. And that's that creating that open future. We are recognizing the limits of our own perception. We're recognizing that we are our own subjectivity and are not fully able to apprehend what the life of another person may be like. We should accept it. You are the best arbiter of who you are.
You are the best arbiter. Oh, this is individualist. How can this person call themselves a leftist with the hammer and sickle in their ad, and yet we'll talk about, they will bring up individualist law? Doesn't make any sense to me. All right. Hold on there. Looking for his bowl? Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, the heck with it. Let's go ahead and continue on. Individualism and, bruh, just come on. This guy's no Soviet. Definitely not. Donate to my Patreon. Exactly.
The idea that you should need to mask your identity, your own core of being, to distort your own personal image into something that will be more accepted by your peers, it's frustrating and it leads to a negative feeling.
This guy's going to be on Ben Burgess, guaranteed. This guy's going to try to find a way to snake his way in to try to get some more of that lefty money. And, he's like I say, he's probably going to be on Ben Burgess or something like that, and they'll be talking about, they look pretty much alike, don't they? Apart from the fact that Ben Burgess has darker hair and everything. But yeah, bruh.
We shouldn't want that sort of harm for people. I know there are some elements within Marxism specifically that are uncomfortable with what they see as identity politics, that a lot of them feel that it is too heavily enmeshed with liberalism, and that it distracts attention away from class issues. And why I'm sympathetic to wanting to keep significant attention on class struggle. I have to say, you're like the majority of trans people, regardless of who is seen in the media, the majority of trans people are voters. And so we find a recognition of our inability to remove ourselves from our subjectivity and to see the world through a different person's eyes, completely our own version. Instead, to accept they are.
Wait a minute. So hold on. So I'm trying to listen to this, not just trying to blow past it. He said that, okay, you're the only person that you're the arbiter of your own subjectivity. And now he's saying you need to look at their subjectivity. What? Did you just, these folks, I hate to repeat myself because it seems like every other video, but it's like he undid his argument. Okay, go ahead.
Of their subjective experience. Then it becomes really important that that bridge. We want to, as Bar suggested, find how men apart can get together. One way to do that is to extend a hand of support to those people who are that oppression is not specifically derived from class axis, but like this. And the thing I would ask of everybody on the left is, if you encounter somebody who's attempting to catch bigotry in leftist language, call them out, challenge them, because what they're doing is spreading any sort of revolutionary.
Oh, if they're spreading something, yeah. If they're on the left and they don't say anything, you need to call them out.
Now, a revolution that doesn't overturn bigotry is an incomplete revolution. And I don't think it's enough to say, oh, well, we'll deal with this stuff first, and then we'll deal with the other stuff later. It's speaks sauce. And at worst, it is simply a mask to hide the bigotry of the person saying it. And I've seen enough examples of figures like Mopin, who's a big platform.
Oh, my goodness. Here we go. This is a guy who will dab on Vosh and then will still hate Caleb Maupin because he talked to Joti Brar. I don't get it. I really don't get it where all this hatred of Caleb Maupin's coming from. It just, they've tried to target him, and as much as I don't agree with him with Jason Unruh, they've really been trying to get at him. The serfs and all these folks, they've really been trying to get at these folks. And I think it goes to show just how petty people are. And like I say, I mean, the thing is that if nothing else, is that the lockdowns and all the COVID stuff is that people are just showing their true colors. That's all it is. People are showing their true colors, and they want to gang up on Caleb Maupin because he doesn't see things completely the same way. And it is disgusting. Points as the population, actual socialists should stop talking about this. They should, yeah. Do not question the all-knowing Radlib. That's revisionism. Exactly. Go to the Irish pub like I did 2 years ago. No, if you want to, Seth, yeah. Trans folks are less, yeah. Splitters and saboteurs keep moaning about them. They really do.
Figures like Unruh, who regularly use some slurs in his videos. And
oh, my goodness. Once again, this guy is clout chasing, isn't he? He name drops Jason Unruh. He's name dropping Caleb Maupin. I don't think he even gives a shit. He's just trying to catch the wind. He really is. He's just trying to catch the wind, and he's just trying to build a following from this. That's all he's doing. I mean, it's a pretty good ploy. I'll give you that, but I don't really think it's going to work. Until you get on people like, until you get someone like Ben Burgess or, maybe Paul Moore will talk to you. I don't know, but it's like, go ahead, I guess. I mean, do what you got to do to make your money.
And other divisive figures, the popular online left who protect bigots because they think it'll somehow help. It doesn't. Don't protect bigots.
Yeah.
Any sort of revolutionary activity. So that's
non-compete / Luna and Mexi are going to have to cut ties with BreadTube soon. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's how the whole BreadTube thing destroyed itself. From the inside. Is it always happens that way, doesn't it? Where these folks just end up, it's kind of like, atheism, new atheism destroyed itself. A lot of those folks then created BreadTube. People like Ollie from Philosophy Tube openly admitted that they became, that they were, people who listened to, what's his name? I can't even think of it now. But they listened to these folks, and then they became, these more left-wing sort of folks. Of course, they never identified as any particular thing, but yeah. But it's ridiculous. Now, of course, that whole BreadTube thing went down the tube. And, we can see that now the left is going to break up into various bits of, well, we're the real progressives versus the MLs versus everybody else, Well, we've seen this. It's nothing new. It's unfortunate. Yeah.
Let's try to little times in the world. And try trying to people, especially who are facing oppression, even if that acts as oppression is class. That's all the question. It's just simple kindness.
Golly, this guy's an idiot. Just a boomer. And this is his video talking about the ethics of voting. I was trying to listen to the original of this, and it was just so crap. The music overtakes what he's saying and everything. It's just like, bro, just, okay, go ahead.
Hi, everybody. So I've been working on a couple of different video projects, but I decided that I would do a follow-up to my first ethics project video. Everybody say hi to Oliver. Oliver, the resident goblin. He's a good boy. I'm not very satisfied with how the ethics project video turned out. I thought the slideshow format would work better than it did, especially considering that I'm pretty new to YouTube and I don't have much in the way of good quality video equipment. I have a decent camera, but I just had the in-camera mic, and I felt some technical limitations as well as about putting my own face in front of a camera. That negatively impacted the first video.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be changing the format of the channel a little bit from my original intention. I was intending to go with the slideshow sort of a format and to use graphics and visuals a lot more.
Let's skip to the chase, shall we?
How it can be viewed.
Star Trek Discovery. Oh. The memes create themselves, don't they? Star Trek Discovery. We're going to use Star Trek. Go ahead.
viewed as a textual response to deconstruction. And with the other about how it's useful viewing it through the lens of rhetoric propaganda, I think they're both going to provide some interesting insights into how we look at texts and how we can engage with texts in order to come to some understanding of maybe what those texts are trying to communicate more directly.
Yeah.
With that out of the way,
to understand that fish
the
can't leave the water.
reason for this video was to act as a follow-up to my video about ethics of voting.
It's all
Now,
good.
just as a quick summary, when I looked at the ethics of the act of voting specifically,
Mhm.
I found a lot of the conventional Marxist arguments against the act of voting were a little bit incomplete. I don't see that the act of going into a ballot box and casting a vote particularly legitimizes the electoral process unless it's within the context of a collectively organized vote boycott.
This is the Western left, folks. This is the Western left. These are the folks who are fighting for progressivism. These are the folks who are, where it's just like, well, Marx may have not said the right things, or that, the Marxian, argument against voting is perfectly golly.
And I don't think that's a situation that would occur in Canada, were it to be called, which was the original premise of the video, considering released immediately before a confidence motion in the House of Commons that could have led to an election here. And likewise in the United States. I do not believe that there is any current organization with the clout or reach necessary to organize an effective vote boycott that could in any way advance the interests of the working class. So if you think that's not true and that such organization exists, please shout it out. I just don't think it currently is in place for this particular election. From my perspective, the only possible argument in favor of not actually voting is absent, because there's no... It can't be treated as an individual action if you're going to do it that way. It has to be treated as a collective action. With that being said, I also find material analysis isn't really the
just not vote. Why not just don't vote? What about that?
lens to look at such a small action as voting either. I don't see voting being very big or momentous. It's a small action, it takes a small amount of time. It doesn't require any particular compromise for a person's integrity or ethics. It's not some sort of heroic act. It's a routine act. It's minutes. And that, as such, I thought what somebody should do about it was personal enough that it really had to be bound within radical ambiguity. We don't know what another person's situation is exactly. We are not living another person's life, and every person has a unique situation. Whether or not...
Golly, this guy makes some awful cuts too. It's just like, man, bruh, just say it all the way through and then make your cuts. Don't do this stuff where it's just like, oh, bruh, just learn to make... It's like, at least put a little transition in there. All these real cuts, like, it kind of disrupts the flow of things. You know what I mean? Yeah. Oh boy. Well, let's go ahead. I'll see what this crap is, and then we'll... Oh, and then I do have a video. Actually, I'm not going to show that one, but go ahead.
Not voting as a specific act will have an income of harm reduction or of movement towards liberation is so ambiguous that I think this is something best left up to individual conscience. But now you've voted, okay?
Well,
or you
individualism.
So now what comes next? I think this is really where leftists should be focusing more, is not on...
Bully Biden. That's all they'll say. Bully. Let's bully him. Let's bully.
Getting into arguments over whether or not people should vote. I think that's the wrong question to be asking, but rather to be focusing attention on, once a vote has happened, what should we do? I am recording this video prior to the closure of the polls in the United States. It's in Atlantic Canada. It's way too early for anybody to be making any sorts of calls about what's going to happen. And I deliberately am recording at this time but I'm also going to be deliberately releasing this video after the Poles they were genocided, and the few survivors, so that also communicate to other people where we can do that, and regularly drawing people's attention to the violence, and that we there's a few things in the context of the United States. Black Lives Matter has to be a principal issue. The
I remember this tweet with the Black Lives Matter. This one guy who apparently screenshotted Black Lives Matter from IG, from Instagram, and they said basically is that we changed our logo, we won, or we changed our Avi to that, and they said that basically we asked for a meeting in Harris, and they didn't want to let us in. They talked to all these other black folks. They didn't want to talk to Black Lives Matter. So they took all this money from everywhere else, and they got left out in the cold. I don't feel sorry for them. I'm sorry, I don't. Basically is Joe Biden will be like, hey, thanks Black Lives Matter for helping to create the situation that we had this summer. But now I don't need you, so scram. That's basically it. He's not going to waste your time. He's not going to waste time, on that. But yeah, I know that this was made in November and it's December now. I'm just saying.
Epidemic of police violence in the United States towards Black and Indigenous people of color is monstrous. There's no other for it. And I think making sure that remains forefront in people's minds, making sure that we support efforts to push back against police violence, and that we support efforts to center the important work that people are doing in protest spaces, whether it's Philadelphia recently, whether it's in Ferguson.
Yeah, American socialists are ideologically
making sure that we are
confused and focused on wrong principles.
And regularly drawing people's attention to these struggles,
Yeah.
centering the voices of people in the communities that are being.
I'm not referring to you when I say this, but American socialists usually have extremely skewed perspective on literally everything. They can't rid themselves of. That's true, though. That is true. Yep. And force-fed lies for decades more than any other people. Yeah, that's fair. That is fair.
Affected, and we're just doing everything we can to provide material support to the people on the ground. And if we are in a position where we can be the people on the ground, we should take it. Legal defense funds, supporting artists who are on the ground, and
supporting artists. Some of those artists may be supported by the CIA, but I know that's what Caleb says.
And making art on the ground. These are all things that we can do if we can't be there ourselves, and that we also communicate to other people where we can do that. Other than Black Lives Matter, I'd say the next issue that is of significance in the United States is also the issue that I feel should be the principal concern of Canadian leftists right now, and that is solidarity with Indigenous people. Indigenous people are not well treated in the States. They were genocide.
And as I've said many a time, and even Cousin, who's in the chat right now, Indigenous people in the United States are not a monolith. They don't all see things one way. They don't. So I think it's inappropriate. Once again, it's like if there's actually an analysis of different groups, whether it's the Navajo, whether it's the Comanches, whether it's whichever tribe is out there, they're going to see things differently than what you see them as. Just go ahead.
And the few survivors of that genocide are treated abysmally as they are in Canada. In Canada, police violence has been at its worst against Indigenous populations. Treatment of Indigenous people by police in Canada has been reprehensible, whether it in the refusal of the RCMP to protect Indigenous fishers in Nova Scotia from racist mobs who have been attacking them, burning their buildings, burning their trucks, cutting their lobster traps open. It's ridiculous that this is happening in this country and that this is being allowed to happen. There's also, of course, issues with the attempts to put a pipeline across Wet'suwet'en unceded territory. There's also 1492 Land Back Lane here in Canada. This is not an isolated situation. This is all over the place where police violence towards Aboriginal people.
Okay. I've had enough of this. I've had enough of this. Yeah, let's go ahead and let's take a look at this right quick.
He was
Still?
in Smash and Prob, still is Donkey Kong. I don't think Donkey Kong's ever been in a Smash Brothers game. I think you're probably mistaken on that. I've never played any of the Baldur's Gate games.
Nah, that stream's boring. Yeah. I need help though. Yeah. Oh no. Nah. Let's go ahead and what do you got there, Raw Dog? Go ahead and I think I already muted it. So let's go to the channel quick here now. Let's take a look at this link that you sent me, Raw Dog. Why not? Let's take a look. Okay, what the heck is this? Oh, okay. Okay. We'll let it go.
The men and women on the line, they're working overtime, sweating for
Oh, let me go ahead. That guy who was before Thought Slime Hello 99 was a guy who basically he sounds like one of these Marxist in name only who wanted to gain some clout, basically. Yeah, that's basically it.
a dime. Their labor stolen from them, and they're not paid what it's worth. Someday they shall rule the earth.
Here's to the tillers of all land, bending down in toil, harvesting toil, working through cold and heat, growing rice and wheat. Someday they shall rule the earth. The working women of all shores, working night and day, often for no pay. In your liberation, men too will find salvation.
Oh, that's okay. Okay, let's go ahead and I don't think I have trolled or at least talked about Destiny. Let's go ahead and do that right quick, shall we? Let's see what we got here. Let me see here. Why not? China is Hitler's Germany. What's going on? What's going on, Night Zob? Let's see what we got here. I was right, so they decided to lie. Highs and lows, the Tim Pool debate. Professional debater reacts. Loeffler Warnock debate. Yeah, they made a real big thing about that Loeffler and Warnock debate. I couldn't give a hoot less, to be honest with you. It doesn't really directly affect me, but yeah. Twitter drama escalates instantly heated debate. Okay, why not?
Yeah, you know what I would like to say?
All right, let's take a look here.
Explicitly, go target her.
Oh my God, Jack.
I'm targeting. I put the target on his head for targeted
re-
harass.
Oh
my. Yeah, you know what I would like to say? Explicitly, go targeted harass Vouch.
Oh my God, Jack.
I'm targeting. I put the target on his head for targeted harass.
Oh my God, what the Dude, chill. Who the even are these people? I know that I've been saying this a lot, guys.
please do not get an impression like this is what real life left-leaning people are like. Okay, I engage in a very particular type of discourse online, and I think I bring out like the worst kinds of people that are, or maybe it's only the worst kinds that do this type of shit. Please don't get a generalized view of all left-leaning people as a result of like my conversations. I mean, we can like frame it.
You pedantic moron. Who gives a shit, you fucking pedantic idiot?
Oh my goodness, yeah. You hear about how the surfs are taken down? Yep. Yeah, I did hear about that. Hello, 99. Yeah, it's idea. Ooh, it's Chuck E. Cheese on Slime Rat board. Bored us to death. Yeah, exactly. This chat now belongs to the Swedish Capuchin Friendship Association. Oh, great. That sounds good. That sounds good. That sounds good to me. All right. The Grand Guru himself. Oh, man. Okay. Let's get into it.
He's a piece of shit. I hate this guy.
One thing that I noticed, I have to pause donations. Hold on. I don't know how much infighting there is in even the smaller lefty communities. Mike's Discord hates everybody. They talk about how like every person associated with is like trying to have personal relations with him, and they hate them all. And all these like, I guess Kay Swiftly and Ayeko and all these people like had this huge feeling. Oh my god, reading through the Discord is like crazy. It's like, what is happening? I didn't know there was so much other that existed. What the fuck? Hold on, I'm using the restroom quick, and we're gonna talk to this guy 1 second.
Hi there, Destiny. How you doing?
Oh my god, it's loud. What's up?
Good to talk to you again. You know, it's been some time since you came on the show, and we. Oh, I'm getting echo from you, by the way.
Oh, sorry, your mic was a little loud, but hopefully it's
Sorry about that. No, there we go. I'm all good. I had your stream still up. It's been a while. How you doing?
I don't like Destiny or people who overly. Oh, yeah. That's fair.
Shouting at people on Twitter, you know, same old, same old.
Good. You know, we're pretty upset today about you know, you being, you know, invited from your political person, sort of reaching out to DSA and seeing if you could be involved with the canvassing.
Oh yeah, to be clear, so they initially kind of reached out to me, and then we responded, and then they didn't. And you know what? Based on my history with the DSA, my political stuff in general, honest to God, is not a problem. I don't mind that. I was actually super surprised when they initially showed interest.
Yeah, I don't believe that they really did initially show interest in you. You know, I know that you're kind of like confirms the debate here because it's your channel and everything like that, but I don't believe you that they initially sort of reached out to you. You know, given the you know,
oh man, this guy's gonna some basic info about politics and PR. Oh, okay, yeah, that sounds good. Yeah. That sounds good. Let me go see here. Why not? Let's learn some more about Puerto Rico. Destiny, a clone of Vosh. Could be. Could be.
On June 9th, 1918, the New York Times published an article titled Puerto Rico has a Hoover of its own, in where a local Puerto Rican hero, Alberto Ili, is praised in making Puerto Rico self-supporting and in changing the indifferent, if not hostile attitude to one of fervent loyalty to the United States. In other words, Lee's efforts are the reason as to why Puerto Ricans had become so loyal to the United States. On June 25, 1918, Felix Cordova Davila responded to that article in one titled, Loyal Puerto Ricans, a quick response to the call of their new country, in which he expresses discontent at the claim that one man is responsible for their loyalty. He claimed Puerto Ricans are naturally loyal to the United States. But could something have influenced it? Let's talk about the Puerto Rican struggle towards U.S. citizenship. Let's start with the Four-Acre Act, passed on April 2nd, 1900. This act ended U.S. military rule over Puerto Rico as it established a civilian government. This form of civilian rule, however, limited the participation of Puerto Ricans in their own government. For example, the U.S. president appointed the Puerto Rican governor as well as the heads of departments. On March 2nd, 1917, a year before the New York Times articles were written.
Oh yeah, they have Hello 99. Yeah, they have. Yeah, Vosh and Destiny have debated before. couple times. I just can't think of the links offhand. But yeah, look through I'm sure you could just type in Destiny V or something like that. You could find it. But yeah, they have. Go ahead.
Puerto Ricans were granted U.S. citizenship through the Jones-Shafroth Act after years of negotiation and debate. On April 6, 1917, only a month after the Jones Act was passed, the United States entered World War I. In fact, many have attributed the passing of the Jones Act to the United States entering the Great War, but other possible motives have also been brought up. For example, political economist Pedro Caban argues that the grant of U.S. citizenship was proposed as a get to abate Puerto Rican dissatisfaction with the colonial regime, quiet political agitation for independence, and served to permanently bind the country to the United States. About 6 weeks later, on May 18, 1917, President Woodrow Wilson passed the Civil Service Act of 1917. This act declared that all American nationals who on June 5, 1917 had attained the age of 21 and had not attained the age of 31 are subject to registration.
Okay, Colonel
Despite
Autism.
Puerto Ricans still not being able to vote in Congress or for the president, they were required to register for the military. By October 26, 1918, 241,000 Puerto Rican men had registered for military service, and 17,855 were inducted into the Army. On Puerto Rican loyalty, Cordova wrote that the rush of volunteers on the island was so great and immediate that Colonel P. Townshend, commanding the troops, announced that there would be no occasion for the enforcement of the draft of Puerto Rico, as there were sufficient volunteers. These acts were conveniently passed during a time of great tension within the international sphere, and therefore it is hard to tell whether they were passed solely for the U.S. war efforts or to keep Puerto Ricans from asking for more independence. The list could go on. But if there's anything that can be said about the granting of Puerto Rican citizenship and their participation in World War I, it is that it ignited within them a sense of nationalism and loyalty to the United States.
Yeah, it's okay. That's rich, though, nonetheless. French did something like that with the Foreign Legion. Huh. Take a look.
En fait, j'ai essayé
I have seen
en
this before.
Italie, mais
Okay.
c'est un peu la merde parce qu'il faut, il faut connaître un peu du monde pour rentrer et tout. Il faut magouiller un peu, mais à la Légion, c'est différent.
J'étais étudiant et quand j'ai des priorités pour poursuivre, j'ai abandonné pour m'engager.
Je voulais gagner un peu plus d'argent, sinon se gagne pas trop. Parce qu'ici, c'est deux fois plus, ou même plus.
Nothing, no problems, that's it. Legal issues. It wasn't too much big deal. But that's what led me here. That's kind of just drove me to come here, the French Foreign Legion. It's kind of to redeem myself from what I had in the past.
Qu'est-ce que vous voulez chercher? Si vous cherchez peace and love, il ne faut pas aller à la Légion. Parce qu'ici, il faut travailler.
I've been through some
thing
stuff.
about the Legion, it's not my country, but because of all the training I did, I value the people around me.
Évidemment, on prend un risque. On était en courant le jour quand on a signé le contrat.
Je n'ai pas de maison, moi, je me sens comme les maisons.
Légionnaire, comme tout le monde, sauf qu'on prend plein de légionnaires et on les met tous dans un régiment, tous dans une compagnie, tous dans une section, ça forme un ensemble. Et dans cet ensemble, il y a des gens venus de tous les horizons, de toutes les nationalités, qui ont leur expérience. Et quand vous mettez tout ça dans la même gamelle, que vous mélangez, il peut sortir que du bon.
La discipline, c'est la force de la Légion étrangère. Par contre, voilà, il faut commander de façon juste, même si c'est dur, ça, c'est pas un souci. dès que c'est juste et correct, c'est en avant.
Chaque légende est un frère d'armes, quelle que soit sa nationalité, sa race, sa religion. Je lui manifeste toujours.
Vient de partout. De Chine, des États-Unis, d'Espagne, de partout. D'Afrique, d'Europe. Alors chaque année, il apporte un petit niveau d'où ils viennent dans l'ensemble de notre machine.
It's almost like a brotherhood. So I mean, you learn a lot from each other every day. Working together is the most important thing. If not, I mean, we can't finish the mission. We need to finish the mission together. You can't do it all by yourself. So.
Armée de les gens, les enfants, les femmes.
Do I think Caleb Maupin is sincere? I do. Yeah, I do. Do you disagree, Hello 99? If you do, that's fine. That's fine if you do. But I don't know, overall, it's just internet personalities. I know ultimately I'm just another internet personality as well, but that's how I feel.
Au début, je pensais que ça allait pas être bien, mais là, ça va, nickel. Très bien.
Si tu veux avoir une vie normale, famille et enfants, il ne faut pas choisir le militaire parce qu'il n'y a pas assez de temps pour avoir ta famille.
Je retournais et déjà ils me quittaient, je sais pas. Peut-être. Dernière fois quand je partais aussi, j'ai perdu un peu ça. Test, petit test. Après, j'ai plein de camarades qui arrivent à la même chose. Je connais plein d'histoires la même. C'est pas la peine de penser à ça.
You're gonna take your girlfriend, Private?
Yeah, but she's looking at me for myself.
It's not exactly that I feel France is my country, but at the same time I do, because the Legion is in France.
La Légion, c'est toute ma vie, on va dire. Hein, donc, depuis que je suis jeune, je suis là. Elle m'a formé, elle a tracé ma ligne conductrice. Si je suis comme ça, c'est grâce à elle.
Non, je ne pense pas aller à un boulot pareil.
Toutes les valeurs qu'elle...
What we got here? Even the people I've met think he's just a grifter. Maybe to a point, but I don't know. I think that he's trying to be more pragmatic than these other folks, but that's just me. French are secret imperialists. The coward meme is definitely a cover-up. Yeah.
Elle m'a inculqué, j'essaie de les redonner, donc être droit, fidèle, honnête, juste avec moi-même et surtout commander encore une fois les légionnaires comme j'aurais aimé être commandé et leur donner le meilleur de moi-même.
Ils sont tous pareils, mais on est tous ensemble.
Yep, there you go. There you go. I have no respect for France. That's fair. That's a fair opinion. Yeah, the French, like I say, they ruined a lot of things. I have more respect for Spain, to a point, or other. But yeah, France, I think. Yeah, mon Dieu, it's just yeah. I don't really care that much for France either, but yeah. Well, let me put it to a vote. Do y'all want to watch another? There's a recent TV video about Venezuela, and they're talking about the prisons in Venezuela. Y'all want to watch that? Press 1 if you want to watch that video on Venezuela. Press 2 if you want to pick out another video. I'll wait. I'm just not sure because it's a little, but yeah, I'll go ahead and get it up anyway. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, wrong place. Oh, no, the right place. Oh, wait a minute. No, I already took it off, didn't I? Crap. Well, let me see. I think I did take it off. I'm not sure. Get it for the words to a point. Written in French. Yeah, I get gaslighted when I watched Reason TV or any libertarian channel but one. Okay. Let's see here. I think it, yeah, I'll just go ahead and look through it here. Yeah, go ahead and pause this for a moment, and then we'll go ahead and look at this other video here. Okay. All right. But I'll go ahead and it's written in French. Okay. Let's go ahead and see this video about autism, though. Let's go ahead and see. Here we go. Let's see what we got here.
أنا ما أعرف إيش اللي صار هنا.
It is written in French. Yeah. That is
بالفرنسي تضيع وقت اللغة الفرنسية. لا أتكلم والله أتكلم أنا أتكلم بكل جدية يعني. اللغة الفرنسية ليست لغة العلم، ليست لغة السياحة، ليست لغة الحضارة. وفرنسا وللمتخلفة في الإدارة. طيب لا يعني نتكلم عن التخطيط الاستراتيجي كمثال. تخطيط استراتيجي 13 طريقة رئيسية في التخطيط الاستراتيجي، كلها 100% أمريكية، ما في ولا واحدة فرنسية أو ألمانية أو حتى يابانية، ما في، كلها صفر. لغة العلم اليوم احفظوها يا شباب، لغة العلم هي الإنجليزية. إن شاء الله يوم من الأيام ستصبح العربية. كانت اللغة العربية، عندي إثباتات من الكتب الغربية أن اللغة العالمية للعلم كانت اللغة العربية في العالم، وسترجع إن شاء الله. بس حاليا إلى أن نصل إلى الوقت لابد أن نتعامل مع هذا الوقت. حاليا لغة العلم والسياحة هي اللغة الإنجليزية. 80% 80% من الأبحاث العلمية في كل المجالات بما فيها الشرعية تصدر باللغة الإنجليزية، و20% جميع لغات العالم الأخرى مجتمعة. اللغة الفرنسية ترتيبها بين اللغات في انتشارها هي رقم 16، فلا فائدة منها لا في سياحة ولا في علم ولا في بناء حضاري ولا في إدارة. فطبعا بحكم تاريخهم وهيمنات الفرنكفوريين اللي يجب أن تتخلص منها، ما زلتم متعلقين بالفرنسية، فيجب أن نكسر هذا الحاجز لأن لا فائدة منه. انتبهوا لهذا وتعلموا الإنجليزية.
Got a point. Got a point. There you go. Yeah. Pretty funny. Yeah. Okay. Let's go ahead and get into this Reason TV video. There are a couple things here that that we could talk about with this. Like I say, there's going to be some not so good looking stuff, so we'll try to skip over that. But there is some important stuff that does need to be talked about here.
La puerta de la cárcel para adentro, usted está en otro estado.
Tiene rango de virtud y de maldad, o sea.
The inmates have overtaken many prisons in Venezuela. They're armed with heavy weapons and grenades.
Lo mismo policía de entrega en contra de la mano de la AMPA, en contra de la policía.
Por no máteme. Era la orden que daba yo. Y si no lo hacía, se morían ellos.
The prisons are governed by criminal gangs led by a Pran, or kingpin, who strictly enforces the thug code by which all prisoners must abide, or they will be shot in various body parts. It's too dangerous for Venezuelan troops to enter, so they patrol the perimeter and train themselves on any inmate who tries to leave.
Los guardias nunca pasan por adentro. Nosotros entramos, pero además no quieren respetar el espacio, bueno.
The prisoners have formed functional, independent societies with open-air bazaars offering everything from Coca-Cola to cocaine. Several days a week, they welcome their girlfriends, wives, children, and extended families for visits, birthday parties, and even festivals. La Causa, a documentary from 29-year-old filmmaker Andres Figueiredo.
Look how white this dude is. Go ahead.
Thompson is a raw look at life inside what at the time of filming was the country's largest prison. The film explores the structure of its self-organized society, where dissenters and those social radicals were treated harshly, and LGBT inmates were kicked out and forced to live on the roof of a building.
Based. Keep the homos. Go ahead.
No. Figueiredo Thompson started capturing remarkable footage in the prison in 2010 as the socialist strongman president Hugo Chavez dismantled democratic institutions and seized control of private businesses. The year after Figueiredo Thompson began production of Causa, Chavez declared his stepfather an enemy of the state, his family to flee to the U.S., but he continued filming on return trips to Venezuela over the following 8 years.
Senior year in high school was the first time I entered a prison. The experience was incredibly just overwhelming, you know, seeing inmates with weapons, with grenades, the smell, you know.
There are a couple of bro moments that they're little to catch. They'll kind of say it and then they'll brush past it. But once you hear it, you're like, oh, now it makes sense.
Seeing literally excrement comes, just the amount of, you know, open
Look at this.
sewers.
How could you tell that this dude was Venezuelan? You can't tell, can you? Yeah. Venezuela, wash hands. Go ahead.
There's everywhere. Absolutely deplorable conditions. It's almost like a war zone, like post-apocalyptic thing. Just the children, like children going in and out of the prison, the underbelly of crime in Venezuela, being around guns, being crack, being, you know, that guy that was selling crack and the baby in his arms.
You filmed this over the course of 8 years. How did you start going into this in Venezuela when you were a senior in high school?
Yeah, I met this guy who's in the documentary, Gilbert Caro. He's the politician guy. Me and my brother had an NGO.
Politician. Here we go. Go ahead.
And we used to.
Oh, sorry. Make sure you catch that.
High school.
Yeah, I met this guy who's in the documentary, Gilbert Caro. He's a politician guy. Me and my brother had an NGO, and
me and my brother had an NGO. So let's look at this Gilbert Caro right quick. Oh, here we go. Yeah. So a Venezuelan politician. Let's go ahead and see what this Gilbert Caro is all about, huh? Venezuelan politician, Caracas, many siblings. One of his brothers died and another one was sent to prison for a long time. Father became an alcoholic. He was frequently arrested for dealing drugs and eventually charged with murder and sentenced to 20 years in prison when he was young, ultimately serving 10 years in prison. Okay. And became a preacher. Okay. Political career. When he was in prison, Caro listened to speeches of Hugo Chavez, who he resonated with because Chavez had been in prison around the same time. And because he didn't like politicians thinking they were thieves. However, when he left prison after Chavez took office, he felt that Chavez was going the wrong way. 2007, he began working for the Popular Will. Okay. He was released after Maduro election in 2018, 4 months after the release, when President Caro defected to Colombia after apologizing to him. Carlo has always fought for human rights, describing him as a social activist. So he disappeared. Carlo said that he did not want help from the gringos in the United States. Yeah, that's fine. I'm going to free my country. Carl was detained a second time. Was detained for the third time. The arrest for the first time. Okay. As a daughter, and he also began acting as a parental figure to his nephew. At least one of his sisters has left Venezuela. His girlfriend is the activist Ceci Escalona. They first met on Twitter. Okay. So there you go. This guy started an NGO. Yep, exactly. Fed, exactly, yeah. Is this Ancapistan? It could be, yeah, when the prisoners run show, exactly. To how liberalism decentralized, which is where he's seeing similar crime problems emerge. Yep, exactly. Fed, exactly. Go ahead. So I wasn't sure about this Guillermo Caro, so I had to look him up. But go ahead.
And we used to build recreational parks in the slums. And he told me that when he was a kingpin, and how he had transformed himself. But I was 17 and I told him, man, I want to do a documentary about this. I even had to make a fake ID to be able to get into it.
How did you sort of ingratiate yourself in this community that they were willing to let you film them?
They all were going on and they were okay with it, because I think there's also that element of pride in some sense of being in that world, or of wanting to show their life. But it was really interesting to see inside power vacuum that they had filled. Before these, kingpins came power, it used to be like no man's land. And there used to be a lot more bloodbaths.
Que nosotros tenemos armas aquí para por lo menos tener un control contra todo. Aquí nosotros no nos podemos defender si no tenemos armas.
El AMPA tiene un tribunal. Si necesita matarlo, y si no, meterle un barriguero, y si no, un patero.
With kingpins, there was more selective violence. It was more like Hammurabi Code type of an eye for an eye type of thing. But you could leave your cell phone in the prison, and if
basically
somebody was going to be responsible. And it was really hard for you. Like, I would leave.
Latin American countries, people with whiter skin were higher up in the social ladder. This had higher class interests. Just saying, that's true. That is true. Hello 99.
A lot of my things just in the music studio that we built, and nothing would
music
disappear.
Studio. This dude built a music studio. See, this guy's real slick. You got to really catch. It's like, oh well, I was part of an NGO and everything else. You have to wait until the end to find out that this guy, he's very shady, to say the least.
It's surrounded by thieves. So there was this type of military dictatorship code, which was really weird. That I'm not saying that I supported it, but it was a type of system that created some type of order from the previous chaos.
Yo vendo película, para sobrevivir. Mira, yo estoy tranquilo aquí, ningún compañero va a venir a quitarme esto por la fuerza. Que antes, por lo menos, si tú tenías una cadena de oro, yo iba a quitarte esa cadena.
Khan, or Kingpin, presides over a multi-tiered security apparatus that oversees an army of watchmen on the prison grounds and ensure inmates obey strict social codes that regulate where they can go, how they can act, and what they can say.
There are certain codes that you can't break.
This is just okay. This is the same thing with any prison, though. It's just more open, basically. It's like, you know what I mean? It's like I was watching, a documentary on what was it? Lucky Luciano. And it's like Luciano still ran the mafia from prison, and there were still rules and everything else. But it's like it's that way around the world. It's just a little bit different wherever you go culturally. But yeah, go ahead.
You can't use the word for milk because it can also be mixed, and so you have to know all of these things that. If you're going to lose positions in your ranking. Coming new to prison, at first you're most likely going to be sent to the church. They're going to ask you who you are, why are you here, what are you doing, do you know anybody in?
When prisoners first arrive, they're judged by the prison government and sorted into one of three distinct social castes: the thugs, the evangelicals, or the renegades.
Almost like going into college. Like if you get into a frat or not get into a frat depends on who you know, who you are, what you've done, type of thing. Like it's interesting to see that society has ways to self-organize at these different levels, but it's essentially the same thing. The thug is the people who are the freest inside the prison. The thugs can, not wear a shirt. They can walk wherever they want to. They can smoke, eat or do drugs in the prison. The evangelicals talking about they have to have a Bible in their hands and they have to wear a tie, and they're also in charge of cleaning the prison, or they're also in charge of cooking. The renegades, the ones who are worse off, these are like the prisoners within prison, and it's either because you committed a very, very horrible crime, you're homosexual, like a known homosexual, or you belong to a gang that was an enemy of the Kingpin's gang.
In addition to preaching the word of God, the evangelicals are responsible for cleaning the raw sewage and refuse that cover the grounds. They live in the church, which acts as both a place of worship and a prison within the prison. Those who violate the thug code or owe a debt can also be sent to the church.
Dice salirte del mundo y vivir en una iglesia un tiempo como un varón de Dios.
It's like your last warning type of thing. If you're in the church and you're caught by
maybe on a that what's his name, Angelo John Gage is with them now. He better be careful. Angelo John Gage, he's got that blue check mark isn't going to protect you forever on Twitter, man. You better be careful. Apparently, I think someone tried to swat him, I think. That's crazy to say on Kazan, definitely.
The Kingpin smoke doing something, you're either going to get shot in the hand or like corporal punishment some way, or you're going to be sent to the renegades. And that's where because you can't get out of that. Once you do that, any prison that you go to is what called like you have a stain that is not washable. You go to another prison or even the streets, everyone's going to know, no, that guy has a stain on him. Because you were giving the opportunity of the church from yourself to no longer be in the world of evil and turn good.
The prison's de facto government collects a general tax known as la causa, or the cause, which it uses to purchase goods that come into the prison.
If you behave, if you pay your causa, then nobody's going to mess with you. But if you're outspoken, if you do things wrong, if you're a mischief person, if you're a debtor, if you're like a bad person for the good living within the prison, then you're going to fare bad.
Eso es para ayudarnos nosotros mismos. Ya que el gobierno nos ayuda, nos ayudamos nosotros mismos.
The Venezuelan bolivar has been destroyed by hyperinflation. Inside, prisoners have created a market system in which they've established their own currencies, bartered goods and services, and used systems of credit.
The currency that was circulating outside was no longer valid inside the prison. There was a toilet shortage at some point in the country, and you could still for harina pan, which is a main product that we used to make arepas. There were shortages outside, and inside the prison you could still find them. People would go inside the prison to shop.
Inmate-run restaurants inside the prison's walls provide an alternative to the food offered by the government.
Like there was that I really enjoyed talking to, and it was the place that I always wanted to eat. He had his burger shop. His burgers were amazing. The prison food that the government gave him, it wasn't nearly enough, and it was all like just like nice and like soggy and well, I got these like amoebas twice. It was the worst experience of my life.
And the food is the least of the problems created by the government for most inmates.
I saw a skeleton and it was moving, and I had to do a double. I didn't know if it was fear or whatever, and then I looked closer and I saw it was a man who was dying. He was only bone and some skin on
story.
And he had tuberculosis for prisons mostly. So obviously, when you have to put somebody into that type of position, what are you creating? This guy has to survive, and he has to pay the causa to these kingpins, and he has to find a way to make a living within this prison walls. You're essentially making him create networks of new crime and new ways in which to live.
Las cárceles hoy en día son campos en donde reflejan la sociedad.
No quiere decir que el 100% de la culpa sea del sistema, porque yo no te puedo decir que soy un santo, pero tampoco que andaba tampoco.
When society doesn't pay attention to culture of rehabilitation, then that's gonna start to fester.
Tú estás creando un monstruo.
Si te dan la libertad, mañana tú volverías a salir secuestrado.
¿Qué voy a hacer? ¿Qué voy a hacer?
El mundo de la velocidad y la maldad. Mientras que tú tratas bien eso como te rompe.
The film
This is
builds
wild
to a
stuff,
dramatic
man.
finish as the military embarks on a campaign to retake several inmate-run prisons, setting up a showdown in 2016 at the prison where Figueiredo got most of his footage.
Little by little, a lot of these prisons have been taken control of.
En estos días, personal jurídico no trabaja. No quiero estar aquí cuando explote, porque pienso que va a ser muy fuerte.
The campaign presents the socialist government with both practical and moral dilemmas. So overtaking heavily armed inmates requires mass bloodshed and inevitably kills scores of the wrongfully incarcerated. Figueiredo Thompson says officials can't reconcile these actions with foundational ideology, which preaches compassion.
This is where you got to be careful. Yeah. posted a video that he made. The cops just visit him. Yeah, that's what I was saying. Afro capitalism. Yeah, it really is.
And the creation of a new man.
Yeah, this is. Yeah, I think what Hello 99 was saying with the whole being gaslit by TV. This is part of the stuff where you're getting gaslit, where now they're trying to be like, oh, well, how can you reconcile the differences between, the socialism and all this stuff versus, what's actually happening? Just like, come on. They're trying to be subtle, but it's a little ham-fisted in my opinion. But go ahead.
Whose main virtues are selflessness and a commitment to justice.
What they call their version of revolutionism. How are you going to execute inmates if you're supposed to believe in the new man? El hombre nuevo, like their philosophy. This is their philosophy. The Che Guevara, and like the new man, and to reform,
Yeah, they're just being very slick with the wordplay, aren't they?
To use the prisons as a way to re-educate and etc. etc. How do you get to that point?
Venezuela's slide into authoritarianism is also deeply personal for Figueiredo Thompson and his family. His stepfather, Guillermo Zuluaga, Venezuela's slide.
And then
let's hear this part. This is the linchpin of the whole thing here.
And to reform, to and use the prisons as a way to re-educate and etc. etc. How do you get to that point?
Venezuela's slide into authoritarianism is also deeply personal for Figueiredo Thompson and his family. His stepfather, Guillermo Zuluaga, led the last independent TV station in the country after Chavez seized most media outlets. He fought escalating government harassment for years as he exposed the vast human cost of the regime.
Once again, lolberts are always the biggest bootlickers, aren't they? Oh, there we go.
Policies. In 2010, Chavez finally had Zuluaga arrested.
He had to leave the country because Chavez named him a political enemy of the revolution. My first year of university was in Venezuela. And that was a year, or right before that was the year that my staff had to leave, my family had to leave, and I was left there alone with my younger one. It's really strange to see when a man that you've seen your entire life be, a completely moral man, thrown out of his country for speaking the truth. If you didn't question your beliefs, if you're dogmatic about your beliefs, then there's no room for you to admit error. And I think that's a lot of what's happening in Venezuela, is that there's no admittance of error. And they've gone so far down a path that it's very hard to come back from when you become too radicalized in your ideological position. And I think, that's something.
Bruh. There's a lot. Orwell and Good just got doxxed not long ago. That's true. Yeah, they did. Yeah, that guy did just get doxxed. Yeah, that Orwell and Good guy. But the thing is, though, it turned out okay because, the dude actually looked pretty Chad from what I saw. So it's it wasn't really that much of a thing. But yeah,
that I've been able to witness and to see firsthand, and it's very saddening.
Venezuela no era un país violento. Pasó de ser un país no violento a estar entre los 5 países más violentos del mundo.
Obvio, me dijo destrozado, sin cara, 70 disparos en el cuerpo.
La Causa shines the decline of Venezuelan society and the human rights abuses perpetrated under Chavez and Maduro, as their social solution backpedals further from its promise to empower the downtrodden and celebrate the idea of the new man.
La urbe, con su deterioro, con su escuela, con su hedor, con sus prisiones internas en los barrios, esa es una cárcel.
But Figueiredo Thompson's film also features points of individuals who have overcome the odds to find redemption, whether or not they ultimately find justice.
Uno que ha venido de echar broma, uno que ha venido de, bueno, pagó un poco, meter en la delincuencia, hacer y deshacer. Ahora tuyo en esta situación.
Y no solamente eso, después que lo entierro, cuando llego al barrio, me matan a los muchachos que lo matan. Los hombres llorando. Pidiéndome perdón.
Why do they keep showing these kids smoking cigars and stuff? I don't really get that. It's just like sunglasses are cringe now. Authoritarian, yeah. The lack of willpower to do anything is why the corporation that made the vaccine sell off of vaccines. Yeah. Not a Shiba Inu wished sunglasses. Yeah.
El mismo momento que los vi.
Even I have to say, it's kind of racial to be like, oh yeah, they're all just smoking cigars like they're in they're just like the Cubans. Yeah, that's kind of racist. Even I have to say so. Yeah. But
to be able to get to this level of to empathy and to understanding, that was my experience. You know, a lot of people are too afraid to go into the belly of the beast, and I think if you draw them a picture, starting to see things generate empathy, and I think that's the power of film.
Yep. Well, there you go. Like I say, so that was the video on that. I thought that was pretty interesting. What do y'all think about it? What's going on, you Normal? Yeah, we just got through watching this Reason TV video. Like I say, what y'all think about that? Give me your feedback on that. What y'all think? Oh, excuse me. Got a little bit of backup there. Ooh. Or some heartburn, I should say. Ooh. I thought it was pretty interesting nonetheless to see. How was the stream with Ewoks Unhinged? How was that? Is that a good stream? Like I said, we're going to finish up here in a minute. We don't want to go for too long, but yeah. Let's give you a minute to get this going here. Boop-a-doop-a-doo. Boop-a-doop-boo. I think libertarians have something coming to later. Yeah. Yeah, libertarians do have some issues. Yeah, it was good dunking on Eastern chauvinists. Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, they were talking about, yeah, they had a heated debate on the Irish diaspora. Oh, really? Ewok stream was okay? Oh, okay. Irish diaspora. Yeah. Oh, really? They did, huh? What were they saying about the diaspora? Yeah. Oh, Western. Oh, okay. Yeah, I think that they were talking about Jacobin Magazine, right? I know Jacobin Magazine. Yeah, Jacobin Magazine is a rag. And why do people read Jacobin? Jacobin is just, you know, they've already shown CIA paid for, and they have, you know, they have connections to and stuff like that. But yeah, it's just part of the video itself is interesting seeing ANCAPs use their own ideology against Venezuela. Yeah, that was interesting to say the least. But yeah, I thought it was, you know, I thought they were interesting about it. But it's like I say, I was trying to read between the lines with this guy. Like, oh, you know, his stepdad was a guy who owned a TV network and, you know, came from money, this and that. It's just kind of a lot of false consciousness. Yeah. Jacobin Mag is sus. Yeah, definitely. People will be reading Jacobin. Yeah, they don't read it for its contents. Yeah, that's true. They don't. Yeah, Jacobin is one of those, like, yeah. Jacobin is a rag, though. It is. It's a rag. I don't see why we read it, to be honest with you. But yeah. Good video, huh? Let's see what we got here. Let's see, I'll put it on mute. Boop-a-doop-a-doo-doo. Let's see what we got here with the recommendations. Take a look at kernel autisms, and then I'll look at, oops, that. Okay. Okay, there we go. Canto de... Is this a song? Oh, okay. Jacobin. Pretty funny. Oh, the Empire Fox. Oh, okay. Have I seen this before?
Obviously, growing up, you know, you asked me what was my...
Oh, this guy. I think I've seen this before. Is this the guy that talks about that the Israeli government kind of tricked Egyptian Jews to going to Israel and stuff like? I think I've seen this before. I've seen bits of it before. I haven't seen the whole thing, but I think, yeah. Each of the instruments in the canto represent different segments of Italian society. Oh, really? Huh. Jacobins are no more. Yeah. Huh.
My role in the military. I'm not sure that my role started with my enlisted. I think my role started when I was about 5, and I realized that my father is putting uniform and going out to Lebanon as a reserve soldier. That's the first time I felt I'm a part of the military. The next time was in kindergarten, when soldiers came in to tell us about the Independent War, just after the Holocaust Day Memorial. The next time will be when I was 16, and I will get my first draft letter. And in this draft letter, it will be written that I'm a property of the military. This is something that every kid in Israel go through. When you're into the military system, in the end, you're already so much embedded inside the military. The military is a part of your identity, as much you as you're Israeli or Jewish, for that matter, in Israel. And going into the military, I was expecting to be a manifestation of me, just in uniform, protecting the country, protecting my family. I grew up on hearing stories from Auschwitz of my grandma. So my mother's side, my grandma and grandpa was the only survivors from their family, from the Holocaust. All of my family were killed in Auschwitz. The stories from my grandpa, that was also the only survivor from his family from the Holocaust. And from the other side, my grandpa and grandma from my father's side grew up on hearing their stories about Jerusalem and what it is to grow up without freedom under the British mandate. For me, being in the military is to protect them and to make sure that our life will go on as in freedom and in good will. I went through 7 months of boot camp, and in the end of the 7 months, I found myself in the only city that have a settlement in the middle of the city. So getting into the Hebron, one of the first things that I had to do was protect a Jewish holiday. And my job is to put on curfew 180,000 Palestinians. So settlers throughout the West Bank and Israel, Jewish settlers, could come into Hebron and celebrate. So there's thousands and thousands of Israelis and Jewish.
So y'all like simping over Ed, huh? That's all right if you do, yeah. Cameraman needs to be fired.
Settlers from across the West Bank coming to celebrate. And the only way to get protected is to make sure that no Palestinian is living in his home. So literally one of my first tasks was to roam the streets and make sure Palestinians understand they're going into their home and they cannot leave until until the next time we're coming in. And the first time was like a movie. You know, we birthed into the city with our guns in our hands, in our uniform and vest with grenades and 6 packs of ammunition. And we're just screaming. And you see the chaos. You see the people just running from place to place, closing down their shops, running home, because wherever you are when the curfew starts, this is stuck, and you cannot go anywhere else. So you better be at home when we're starting to come the curfew. Now, the official orders to anyone who breaks curfew is shoot to kill. I never did that. I never met anyone who shoot to kill in this process of a curfew, but that was the orders, and they knew it pretty well. They knew what they need to do.
Yeah, simply just watching. Oh, okay.
Feeling of power at once came as a big confusion to me. I think I wasn't clear if I'm in the power of controlling all of these people, or if I don't understand why kids look at me, why are they running away when I'm walking into the street? For my service, I work as an educator. I love kids. So I think I was very confused on why a kid will find me scary. I realize now in perspective, it got to do something with the fact that I have my boots on, my helmet, my 6 packs of ammunition, my 2 hand grenades, M16 in my hand, but I didn't realize that at the time. And I really couldn't understand. And I think in a very paced, I realized that my job is actually to maintain an apartheid system. Very early on, I understood that the rights that the Jewish settlers have are not the rights of the Palestinians. I understood that I cannot touch a Jewish settler if he is attacking a Palestinian. The best I can do is call a local police department to come handle it, like I would do at home in Jerusalem. So these Jewish settlers that live in Hebron are living under the same rights that I live in Jerusalem. But the Palestinian next to them, next house over, next building over, sometimes next apartment over, lives under my rule, my military rule. And I can do whatever I want with him. I can take his home as a temporary base for a few hours to a few days to a few weeks. I can decide that I'm arresting the people of the house and turn them up to the fence of my base. If we will get an order to demolish their home or just lock their front door and don't let them out into the street their house is on, a street that only Jewish settlers can walk on and Palestinians cannot. So they have to walk through windows to yards, into the other side, into the castle of Hebron. I think realizing all of that in a very, very early stage in my service helped me understand that someone was lying to me along the way. I didn't feel like I'm protecting anyone. I didn't feel like I'm helping anyone feeling more safe. I feel like I'm terrorizing people. I feel like for the first time in my life, the boundaries between good and bad that I learned as a kid, and obviously I learned that I'm on the good side, was broken. I felt like I am the terrorist. And my job was literally to scare people so they cannot think about acting against the Israeli settlers or the Israeli military. That was actually our defined mission, to make sure to instill fear in the hearts of Palestinians in Hebron. And that's exactly what we did.
I think Hebron is a really intense example of apartheid, obviously. Like you just said, the settlements in the middle of the city, it's extremely visible. You have the cage streets, the ghost town. It's horrifying. Why do you speak up, and why did you do what you did knowing that you would suffer such repercussions and potentially be banned from returning back to your country?
I'll show you something later.
All right.
Well, growing up in Israel, like I said, I believe that I was the good guy. I mean, the story that all of us are being told all around the world is that the very clear difference between good and bad people.
I knew it was the voice. I knew. That's all right. It's all right. Yeah. That's okay, Art. It's okay, Libs. No, 1975. You're only human. It's okay. We're not going to go on and on about it. It's okay. Yeah. Abby is only good on foreign policy. Yeah. 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 I heard a recent video about the United States saying we need to have a revolution or something like that, or we need to, overturn the laws. And yeah, it was very, very Fed posty, but yeah.
You learn about the Holocaust growing up. I saw my grandma screaming in the middle of the nights, memories from Auschwitz in our mind, memories to our family. I knew that I am going to be a good human being. In the age of 15, 16, I began being almost obsessed with trying to understand the Nazi side in the Holocaust. Not only to hear the stories of the victims, of the Jewish victims and any other victims from the Holocaust, but to try to understand how can a Nazi soldier get up in the morning, give his kids a kiss, his wife a hug, and go out to the camps. I just couldn't understand it. And when I got into the territories, for the first time, I understood how can there be a contradiction inside yourself. As a human being, you do your job and be a one person at home, be a loving, caring, boyfriend or a son or brother, and in the same time, hold people under a regime so oppressed that people are dying not from only your bullets, but the amount of calories being entered into their territory, like in Gaza, from depression or sickness. This realization during my time as a soldier of me on the right side of history gave me this urge
Okay, we need to stop using right side of history. Can we do that? Can we stop with the moralisms like I'm on the right side of history and they're not? Can we please not do that? I'm kind of tired of that argument, but that's just me. I need a Sith moment to make up for the autism on Costin's stream. Oh boy. Oh boy. What sort of Sith moment do we need? You know, Israel's base, bro. Is that kind of is that a Sith moment? Is that a Sith Frisbee moment? To say, yeah. What else? Well, what else would he say? Israel is actually the true, failed moment. Oh my goodness, the cat's getting wild. Okay. Oh, we're not going to watch every minute of this, but it's pretty good. Let's go ahead and skip to the end here.
Is to create an ethnically cleansed piece of land only for Jewish people. With Palestinian workers, of course, some Palestinians can stay and do stuff for us, but this is our land. What people maybe don't understand is that Israel is creating conditions into the situation of constantly having to protect yourself. We're creating this situation by oppressing millions of people into a phase. Well, they have no other choice by resist. So many of these people lost a family member, had been to prison or lost in prison, and understood that nothing can be changed. Because the truth is that Israel do not hear the diplomacy. Israel do not hear the calls of Palestinians for equality. What we are seeing in Palestine is what a lot of people to describe as the most complicated political situation of our time is probably the most simple political situation of our time. The situation about equality.
It's amazing that you say that, Iran, because this is painted as the most complex, the most hard to solve. They've been fighting over it for thousands of years. You know, you hear these things, but really, it really does come down to basic equality and humanity. Would you say that you support the right of Palestinians to fight their occupiers?
Absolutely, I support the right of every human being under an oppressive military rule to resist this military rule by any means possible. I do not believe that you have a right to occupy millions of human beings without any decent, simple, basic human rights for their name. And I do not believe that Israel would change on its own. At no point in history there was a state or a power that had the power to control over other beings and benefit from it, and just decided to let go of this power by its own. It was always forced on them by the resistance of the people underneath them or the intervention of other forces around the world. And unfortunately, as I do support the Palestinian right to resist in any way, I do not believe that their resistance is enough. I do believe that the rest of the world have to interfere in what's going on in Palestine. There's nothing else that we can do except for giving all the Palestinians equal rights and starting a new equality system for all human beings on the ground.
I think that's some nice sentiment, but I think that I try to take it with a grain of salt, but that's my take on it. Yeah. Also, Israel, Jew moment. Exactly. Yeah. It really is. It's some sort of moment. I don't know. Yeah. Cringe capitalists don't deserve human rights. Yeah. Yeah. The whole equal rights type of thing. It's like, that's nice to say, but it's just kind of, it's kind of a meme, unfortunately. I'm sorry, but it's like, there are natural rights and there's human rights, right? Isn't that the difference? But yeah, maybe I'm being cringe by saying that, but it's like, when you start throwing around the word equality and human rights, it's like, maybe it's because I'm a United States citizen and we use those words and we throw them around a lot, and my rights are gay. Exactly. Yeah, they are. It's just ridiculous. Yeah. Double agent. Yeah. Classicide is pesticide. Yeah. But that's just me. Like I say, it's just kind of, yeah. And no dump solidarity. Oh boy. Well, I think we have a good stream. But apparently, Ronin Report is on. I know Anand Kazin's watching that, and I'm sure y'all got some other things to watch. So I will go ahead and thank my audience. It has been a while, so I'll go ahead and do that though. Thank you to Jabify, The People's Rooster, Nationalist Doomer, Poppy Chulo, Kaz banned from YouTube, Libs No 1975R, Nationalist Doomer, Timid Jin, Anand Kazan was in here earlier, as well as Union Army Ball. Who else we got here? Autarkic People's Republic. Let me make sure I didn't. Make sure I give everybody that. Yeah, Reganis. Yeah. Yeah. Who else we got in here? Who else? Oh, yeah, Colonel Autism. It's the only ones I can think of off the top of my head. Let me see here. I think I covered everybody. So, yeah, let's go ahead and call that good right there. Eli Frank. Hello. Hello, Eli Frank. Sorry to disappoint you, but we're kind of reaching that point where I'm kind of sleepy, and I'm probably just going to play some video and that, but yeah. So apologies. You can go ahead and watch this stream here in a little bit probably, and just rewind it from the beginning, and you can watch that. So I'll go ahead and just play the outro, and we're going to call it good there. So I hope y'all all have a good night or a good day, depending on where you are in the world, and goodbye.